So I saw the Weeknd movie, and yeah. To preface this, I have listened to Hurry Up Tomorrow, the album, and I thought it was a really good album. I think it's up there with Album of the Year talks. Even though we are still in the earlier half of the year, I think it's still a really good album. And it showcases musically this death of the Weeknd persona, and I guess end to the After Hours Dawn FM trilogy. I have a whole video about it. I've given my thoughts about that. I think it still reigns true to what I've already said. I think it's a really good album. I think it's a really great way to end off the Weeknd persona, Weeknd artistry, whatnot. The Weeknd is a guy who I've always known. But I haven't really like took a plunge into like his whole story and whatnot until I'd say like a year or so, or even earlier this year. I've always known his music, of course, but I haven't really dug too deep until fairly recently. I've listened to a lot of his albums, Hurry Up Tomorrow being one of them. So I saw that The Weeknd was doing a movie about the album Hurry Up Tomorrow. He's doing a movie about the album, based off the album. I don't know. I did get a tweet about it, because if you liked a specific tweet, you'd get mentioned by, I don't know, this bot that'll tell you about the Hurry Up Tomorrow movie that comes out. I can probably show the tweet somewhere. But yeah, the one I went to was a fan event, which was basically an early screening. It officially releases worldwide in like a couple days. So, I mean, I don't know if this counts as like an early review or not, but I mean, all I had to do was just buy tickets to the specific day. So I saw that The Weeknd was gonna make a movie about this, and having only known The Weeknd's acting from The Idol, yeah, I don't want to say I had the highest of expectations. All I hope for is that he turned down the freakiness and got better at acting, which I will say, he did get better at acting. Of course, it's a very different setting than The Idol, because this album is more of a horror thriller type of movie. Yeah, where was I? Sorry, this ramble might be all over the place. I literally just got out of the movie. As you can see, I got a little bit of a... I know I got pissed at that whole Cardi album rollout, but I mean, shit. I mean, Timeless is on the album. This is a pretty sick jersey. I love making bad financial decisions, but hey, I got an Allen Iverson jersey now, so hey, I'll take it. Double O boss on the watch, you know that I'm timeless. Yeah, okay, you know what? I'm gonna take this off now. I know. You're not Cardi, bruh. I get it. Alright? Me and my friend, we go to the movies, a little date. We go into the movie, we watch it, and what is the movie description again? Plagued by insomnia, a musician gets pulled into a nightmarish odyssey with a stranger who begins to unravel the very core of his existence. Yeah, that's basically the gist of the movie. The Weeknd is The Weeknd. He does this performance, and then he goes through a bunch of stuff. JennaOrtega is like this very obsessed fan, and basically she's like the catalyst of The Weeknd being able to, I guess, reflect on himself. That's basically the gist of it in a most simplest terms. I don't know if I give a spoiler warning ahead. I don't know if I might accidentally spoil the movie or not, because this is really the first time I've rambled about a movie, because I don't really watch movies. I don't know if that helps preface anything. My overall thoughts on the movie is that it was just fine. It was fine. I'd say I'm a Weeknd fan. I'm not the biggest tippy top Weeknd fan. I know of some of his background, some of his story, because I did listen to Beauty Behind the Madness a while ago. I've listened to a lot of Weeknd albums in full, and I get the story. I kind of know who the Weeknd character is, and I guess a little bit of Abel, but obviously more the Weeknd. And if you know the Weeknd, and if you're a fan, I felt like this movie is more catered towards you, because if you only know The Weeknd from his hits, maybe. But if you don't know The Weeknd at all, I'd suggest you do not go to this movie because even as someone who has listened to The Weeknd and has divulged himself into Weeknd lore, like, even still, I got a lot of confusion out of this movie. I will say, the cinematography is amazing. It's amazing. Like, technically, the beginning opens up with him singing Hurry Up Tomorrow. I don't know if it's a music video, but, like, he plays a song, and it's very emotional. I really like that song. And then it just tells us that his album is out. And I'm like, oh, that wasn't the beginning of the movie. I haven't really looked at the Hurry Up Tomorrow music video, so I don't know if that's like, I don't know if the title track, that was the title track's music video, but it happens. He plays it. I thought that was the beginning of the movie. Then he tells us that the album is out. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess that's on me for not figuring that out. But anyway, yeah. Then we get into the movie, and then he shows us the performance, which is the intro track, Wake Me Up, and it is really good. I'm pretty sure it was taken in one take, and yeah, the sequencing for that was pretty sick. So yeah, there's also this one guy, his name is Barry. I think if you know Sabrina Carpenter, you know that's the guy. But he's there, he's his manager, and he's pretty he's not the most cleanest manager, I'll just say that. Yeah, God, I don't know how I'm gonna say this without trying to spoil it. Yeah, okay, I'm not gonna try to revisit the plot because honestly, this movie does get a little long-winded at points. I don't know, like it starts really slow, and I felt like it starts to get a little bit more interesting once we get, you know, the two characters, they interact with each other, Jenna Ortega and The Weeknd. I will say Jenna Ortega is probably a highlight on this film because my goodness, can she act? She can act really well. As someone who hasn't really like dived deep into Jenna Ortega films and series, yeah. So Jenna and The Weeknd meet up. There's this one part where it gets like a little bit interesting and it starts to pick up a bit. I'm like, oh, okay, here we go, and then like it kind of goes back down. Like I thought it started to get more interesting, then we kind of teeter out a bit. It just felt very long-winded and it felt like it almost goes nowhere. Yeah, so they have this scene where it's like Jenna and The Weeknd are like arguing and whatnot, and then basically something happens to The Weeknd, and then we go into like this horror sequence where it makes sense as to why this film is called a horror movie. That's when I thought like, okay, we're getting some very interesting development here in the movie. And then it kind of just goes back to the reality, and and then Jenna has this whole exposition where they're basically going through some Weeknd songs, like Blinding Lights, where she kind of breaks it down a bit. Then she goes and plays Gasoline, and then she like kind of roasts it, saying about how it wasn't as big of a hit as Blinding Lights, which I don't. If you ever watch the movie and you see the scene, like Abel like cries a little bit when he hears that. I'm like, okay, I don't know if that was meant to be because she was roasting the fact that Gasoline wasn't as successful, but like honestly, I like Gasoline more than Blinding Lights. Maybe also because it reaches overplayed for me. I don't know. But I do like Gasoline. I do like Dawn FM. Jenna basically goes over some Weeknd songs and tries to, I guess, interrogate The Weeknd about him and himself. It's a lot of exposition, and Jenna does portray it well. But like the thing with it is that it basically does help give reason as to why this movie exists. Like it helps, I guess it helps the viewer out a bit. But my friend who I went with brought up this point where like, so we go into the whole horror dream sequence in the middle section. He thought that they divulge more into that because like there's this one point where The Weeknd sees like a younger part of himself. So I thought we'd go more into like the horror, mental, psychological stuff of that, which probably would have been a more interesting film than having Jenna Ortega kind of like have this whole exposition using past Weeknd songs. So yeah, I can kind of see that. I can kind of see how that would have been way more interesting than what we got. But on one hand, that probably would have been better for my enjoyment considering that I kind of already know what The Weeknd is and what he has done. But I guess it could also help the more casual general viewer try to understand this whole plot, which the plot is kind of, I don't know, it felt very start-stop and also long-winded, but yet not as concise as I think it should have been. Because like basically it is supposed to portray the death of the Weeknd character as like what happens in the album. But like, I don't know, it's like he's not getting the point across well, unless you're like a Weeknd fan slash super fan. That's kind of how I can kind of describe my feelings towards this movie. Maybe there is just something I'm not getting. Maybe I have to do a second watch, but I don't know. It just didn't feel, it didn't feel as intriguing as I wish it would, because the album is just so good and it is able to help portray this ending for The Weeknd. But I don't know, the movie is just like, there's some stuff in here where it's just either forgettable or like kind of, I don't want to say boring, but it's kind of like just hollow. Nothing there. It's like it wasn't as in-depth as I wish it would be, because like you do kind of see the toxicity of The Weeknd, like how you would in his past music. Toxic relationship, toxic lifestyle. They do kind of dabble on that throughout the movie, but like they also didn't really go into that much, I feel like, unless that whole manager stuff. I guess that was a decent portrayal of The Weeknd's lifestyle and how he has been up until this point. The way the film develops and the way that it progresses, it's just didn't feel like it was as impactful as I wish it was. I don't know. I tried to look online. There's some Reddit threads about, you know, discussion about it. There is some theories about Barry and Jenna's characters and how they play into this whole film. You can probably find it. I don't know if I should go too much in depth on it, because I guess it is a decent interpretation and it does help with the ending, because like the ending also felt very abrupt. I don't know, it just felt very abrupt, and it was like, oh, that's it. It's funny too, because I thought the movie started off long-winded, and then when it actually ended I was like, oh, that's it, that's all we're left with. That's basically like how I felt about the movie. It's just like, I can see where he's going with it, but I don't think the execution of it was as strong or as impactful as I wish it would be, considering that The Weeknd curated this album in such a way that made it so emotional and, you know, kind of end things off for this arc of him. But it just felt very inconcise for the movie. I don't know if I'm just repeating myself at this point. I'm not the most nuanced or knowledgeable movie critic out there. I literally just watch fucking Marvel films and whatever. Oh, I watched Sinners. Sinners is a horror film that I think is really good. I mean, everyone's saying Sinners is really good, and I would agree. I get the hype with that. But this one is also a horror film, but like it's just not as intriguing or interesting. Like, what makes this movie interesting is if you knew of The Weeknd. Other than that, like, I feel like you aren't gonna get this. You're not gonna get this, or you're just gonna end up more confused than when you came in. Maybe I need more time to marinate on this, because like I literally did just see it, and maybe I just gotta think on it more. But right now, like, my thoughts on it is that I get the idea he was going for, and I kind of get the sentiment, and I do applaud Abel for, I guess, opening up a bit on this movie and on the album, but I don't know, it just didn't stick with me as I hope it would. And for as long as that runtime is, it's just it still doesn't get its point across as clear as it should be. And I guess that's also what the film was trying to portray, because maybe it's so it allows the viewers to leave it open-ended, leave it ambiguous. Is that the word? Leave it like out in the open for anyone to interpret it. I guess you could go that way. Maybe if there's any other Weeknd super fans to help me out with this, because like I just felt like I got in, watched it, you know, vibe to all the Weeknd songs that are great, and then yeah, you know, got out of there. It's like, okay, the Weeknd's gone. Apparently, I guess in a little bit of a spoiler warning if if you already haven't left because of me accidentally spoiling the movie. I guess I will talk about the ending a bit, because like basically after what happens throughout the middle, and you know, I guess the resolve from what happens in that middle act, basically the Weeknd goes back to where we are at the beginning. He's back looking in the mirror, I think about ready to perform again, and that's how it ends basically. There's a couple ways I can interpret it being. The one I thought about it is like after the whole experience and whatnot that the Weeknd goes throughout the movie, he goes back to performing because, you know, he is on tour, and that's when we get to the point where he starts to progress into whatever he does next post Weeknd. I think him turning into Abel, I guess. I don't know if that's what he's gonna do after the Weeknd, making music under Abel. But yeah, that's the way I would like to interpret it. Like after all of the experiences he went through with that movie and the self-reflection, he goes back to performing, because obviously the Weeknd, Abel, isn't gonna stop making music after this. He goes on to perform because, you know, the show must go on. But after what he's experienced, he starts to, I guess, better himself or transition into more of himself with the whole Abel stuff. That's what I would like to interpret to at least make some sense of this movie. For me, that sounds like the more sensible ending and solution to this Death of the Weeknd arc that we've been on for Abel artistically. But there's also some sort of other ending that I was thinking of, how it could be like it's all a loop, it's all a cycle. The Weeknd basically just goes back to the beginning and he has to experience everything in this movie over again, which I feel like might also be true, but I feel like it wouldn't make sense if this would be the Death of the Weeknd, have it just repeat. But maybe that's just me. I do like the idea of the first ending, if that was the intention. That's just what I got to help make sense of this movie, because my god, there's some points where I'm like, okay, can we get going? Can we get going? And when we get going, it's like, oh, and then it goes back to being a little bit slow, and then it ends. It's like, okay, well, that happened. Okay, cool. I don't know if this ramble was as concise. If it wasn't, then hey, I'm just like the movie. Yeah, sorry if this was all over the place. I'm not really a movie reviewer. I don't plan to be a movie reviewer. Overall, the visuals of the movie were great. I think the acting was pretty good, especially JennaOrtega. The Weeknd definitely improved as an actor, considering that he doesn't have to play some super freak. Abel has been known to be a freaky guy. The music, of course, was good. It literally had a few songs from here. They played Timeless for 30 seconds, and that was probably a highlight of the film, as someone who literally tried to dress up like Cardi. Yeah, so the visuals were great, the acting was good, the music was great, obviously, if you liked Hurry Up Tomorrow, the album, which I did. But the plot just felt very thin, without that much depth to it. So yeah, would I suggest this movie? If you're a super fan of The Weeknd, or if you at least know of The Weeknd's story, maybe give it a shot. Maybe you can get something out of it more than I did, even if I am a Weeknd fan and a Weeknd connoisseur. Not the biggest, but a Weeknd connoisseur. If you don't know The Weeknd at all, or if you're like a horror junkie, I suggest you not check it out, because it might just confuse you. I don't know what else to say. I don't know if I've already spoiled too much. I don't know what I said and cannot say. Yeah, it was just fine. If you want something better, listen to the album. If you want to watch a better horror movie, you can go watch Sinners. If you want a better musician movie, watch the Hatsune Miku movie. Booyah! Alright, first movie review done. Actually, when's the last time I've reviewed like a movie or show? There's no way it's the Bocchi the Rock video that I did like a couple years ago already. Is it that? Honestly, it might be. I don't know. But anyway, that being said, thank you for watching a Weeknd movie review in the books. Thanks for watching. like, comment, and subscribe. You know the drill. Watch my other rambles if you want to. Watch my non-rambles if you want to. Yeah, you know, shout out to The Weeknd for trying to do something in the Hollywood movie acting industry. But yeah, so far from this small sample size, yeah, it's obvious that the music is the more superior medium for consumption of The Weeknd. But hey, I mean, if there's anything to take away, I'm seeing improvement. I'm seeing improvement from The Weeknd as an actor, as someone who has only seen clips of The Idol. Hey, who knows? Maybe if he keeps at it, maybe we'll see something. We'll see like a pretty good movie. I don't know. I honestly don't know. The movie was just fine. Shout out to Abel for improving his acting. If there's any other Weeknd fans that watch this movie and somehow watch this video, help me out here, maybe, I guess. I don't know. Let me know what you think about the movie. Let me know what your interpretation of the movie is. And cool. Yeah, I guess this is my upload for the week. I was gonna upload a couple of more retrospective albums, but we'll see. We'll see. The week is kind of getting past the halfway point, so yeah, expect more uploads sometime soon. I don't know. And I've rambled too long for this outro, and I don't even know if I rambled concisely for this movie review. It's more like a movie ramble or anything. So yeah, that's about it. See ya.